Welcome to Love Being American, where you can catch up on the major events and political issues that are happening around the country. Now introducing two millennials who love being American. Your hosts, Andrew and Henry.
Welcome once again to episode number 11 of Love Being American. Really appreciate you guys taking out the time in your day, your busy schedules to join us. This week's episode, we're going to be discussing Thursday's Republican presidential debate, as well as the impact of the Iowa caucuses on the presidential race.
We're also going to explain how the caucus works. A lot of people who don't live in a caucus state don't really know the process behind it and how it differs from a regular primary. We've discovered that a lot of millennials really have no idea what it is. So we're going to be explaining basically how the Iowa caucus works. But before we dive into tonight's topic, we're drinking some beer.
Andrew was kind enough, brought me a delicious North Coast Red Seal Ale, bright reddish amber, medium-bodied, malt, and a generous helping of hops.
How do you like it?
Every time you get me an amber, you pick a phenomenal one, and this might take the cake. I mean, you know how I feel about Taproom 21. This may be better.
Really?
Delicious.
Interesting. I'm going to have to try it after you're done. So Henry was kind enough to bring me a Firestone Union Jack IPA. I've never had one of these before, and it's kind of got some citrus pineapple flavor aromas going on, which I definitely wasn't expecting. I'm usually not a fan of Firestone. You know Firestone was on The Bachelor? He was a Bachelor person. I'm almost positive it's Firestone, the same Firestone guy who was from The Bachelor.
It's a good beer. I like that. It was like really very refreshing.
Yeah, it's refreshing. It's not my favorite IPA, but it's pretty good. So from there, let's transition into talking about the Republican debate. The big elephant wasn't in the room last night, as Donald Trump kind of decided that he was going to take a step back from the debate.
Sat on the bench this one, let the other players on the field battle it out, and try to see what they would all do and say.
So if you're wondering why Trump sat out, there are basically two main reasons. I mean, this was all over the news. I feel like everyone in the world knew Trump wasn't at last night's debate. But it all started during the first Fox News debate when Megyn Kelly asked him a question about why should women trust him or something along those lines when he said so many, degrading remarks towards women, like calling Rosie O'Donnell the pig. Trump took that like as a real personal attack against him and not as like a fair debate question, which I feel like
that is a personal attack. I mean, granted, he's had several wives, several different children with those wives. I don't think he's the best at with women. I could be wrong. Maybe he's just that awesome where many women need to be with him.
That's probably what he'd like you to think.
That's what he would like us to think.
I think it was a fair debate question.
Because the females are a portion of the voting population.
Exactly. And if he says derogatory remarks towards women or talks down to them in some way, I think that's a record that he should be called out on.
Absolutely. But I mean, with that being said, I don't think how a man necessarily treats a woman makes or breaks him as a presidential candidate. Let's go back a little historically to a little about JFK. Wasn't the most loyal son of a gun.
He was.
People loved him.
And same with Bill. But I think the way you treat a woman says a lot about your character.
JFK was a classy guy. He was a little bit of a whore.
He just liked to mess around.
He liked to mess around. He didn't degrade women.
Yeah, and
he uplifted them.
But with Trump, you see him putting down women.
Yeah, like he looks down on them.
That's kind of the feeling that I've been getting. And
Absolutely.
When you read his quotes, that's kind of what you see. So I think it's a little different from being a womanizer and a player from Trump's remarks. And I think it was fair that he got called out on that. I think anyone should be able to get called out on something like that. So that's kind of like the first strike. And Megyn Kelly was obviously hosting this debate, so he thought she was going to be really biased with him. And the second reason was because he also believed that Fox News was going to treat him really unfairly after they released a press release on Tuesday that belittled him. In the press release, network officials had said they had learned from a secret back channel that the Ayatollah and Putin both intended to treat Donald Trump unfairly when they met with him if he becomes president. So that's kind of like a little jab and a ruse of like, oh, you're scared of Megyn Kelly? Like,
yeah, what is Putin going to do to you?
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of like their jab. And then later on in the press release, it also says Trump has his own secret plan to replace the cabinet with his Twitter followers to see if he's even going to those meetings. I don't really understand that. It wasn't really funny to me.
Right. But the reality is Fox News has no support. The media does not like Donald Trump.
Yeah, this is kind of weird.
This is a weird attack.
Yeah, it is definitely an attack.
This debate was almost, I mean, granted, he wasn't in it, but it was supposed to be basically, the attack on Trump debate.
Yeah, to try to bring him down
before something, because he's not letting down. He's not backing down. He keeps on coming, and he has the support. And I don't think that a lot of Republicans, especially in the upper echelons of the party, want Trump on that ticket.
The Republican establishment does not want him to be the candidate in 2016.
So they're doing. I mean, Fox News. If you're a Republican, you watch Fox News.
Yes,
100%.
You're not watching MSNBC
or CNN. No, you watch Fox News, and so they're doing everything you can. You even look at commentators. They are always. No one is backing Trump on that network.
And I don't know. I just think it's weird that Fox News, which is supposed to be objective, put out something that was mocking a presidential candidate. I agree why that pissed Trump off. I don't think that was a smart move on Fox News's part.
But was it a smart move on Donald Trump's part
to sit out the debate? I think yes and no. Actually, looking back on it, I'm going to scratch that. Yes, it was. Because here's one thing. He didn't mess up on a big stage in front of people. Right. Last night's debate, the candidates talked a lot about policy, and they really got into it, which
probably
hasn't
something
happened.
Trump would not be well-versed in.
He would have lacked on that. Second, everyone kind of attacked Ted Cruz, and Ted Cruz, I think, really flubbed in last night's debate. Ted Cruz is...
I thought you'd think of all people, he was a speech and debate champion. I think he would have been able to hold his ground a little better.
He didn't do well, and, he's second to Trump right now in Iowa. Trump's pretty stoked because his main competition went down.
His popularity did not go down. That debate, him sitting out prevented, like you said, him making any mistakes, any weaknesses to show.
But here's the one thing I think. Iowans classically do not make up their mind. 30% of them don't have their mind made up right now, and they won't until Monday night at the caucus. I think they got to see all of these different candidates and hear them talk more because Trump wasn't on the stage, so every one of them got in more talking points. And I think a lot of people rose up to the top of the pack who normally wouldn't have if Trump was there. Bush was more talkative, and I think Trump scares Bush.
Trump dominates. He just dominates the field as far as just he's loud, he's boisterous. He controls, in a sense, he controls the media when it's in front of him. He's very good at that. The other people, they're not used to it. And like you said, I think like Jeb Bush, he's intimidated.
Yes, he is.
I think a lot of the other candidates are, because they're not used to debating with somebody like Trump. They're used to debating with somebody like themselves. Whereas Trump, he's just going to do something ridiculous and crazy. And it's outside their comfort zone.
Yeah, they're not used to that in a normal debate setting. Everyone's very refined and proper. We had debates at Harvard and Princeton.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, Trump's out there saying nonsense, scaring everyone. And
yeah,
it throws them off their game a little bit.
Absolutely.
Moving on from Trump, he's gotten enough attention. There are certain things last night that I really liked about the debate. Rand Paul had an awesome cheering section. Every time that guy talked after he was done, you hear, like the whole crowd goes loud. He probably had a bunch of college students there, totally supporting him, just going crazy. I love that. I thought that was pretty awesome. I really liked how they got into the issues, but, I would have really loved to hear more about stuff like simplifying the tax code, how to prevent corporate inversion, which is happening right now. A lot of big corporations are leaving the country to get a better tax break. There were some things that I wish they focused more on, but with every single debate, actions speak louder than words. So at the end of the day, just everyone's talking. You don't really know what they're going to do.
I mean, we only can look at their past experience and their past actions. They can say whatever they want, but we know what they did before.
There were a couple standout quotes that I really liked, and I think the best quote of the night which actually came in the undercard debate from Mike Huckabee. I was really surprised when I heard him say this. This was one quote that stood out to me, and I really liked it, and I just want to read it because I think it's worth noting. So Mike Huckabee said towards the end of the undercard debate, "There's only a few of us in the entire Republican process who are not corporately funded by the same group. Let me just finish by saying, you want to know why things never change depending on whether Democrats or Republicans are in power, and why Republicans in Iowa and the rest of the country are so frustrated? The reason is because if you follow the money, the same folks who finance the Democrats finance the Republicans. And no matter what speeches in the ad say, they get the same results. If you want different results, I'm available." And I thought, like, amen. Like, I'm glad he said that because it's so true. You can go and look up online who donates to who. Goldman Sachs bankrolls like everyone. They're putting their eggs in all the basket.
The Koch brothers.
Yeah.
Same thing.
All the not all of them, but most of the Republicans are financed by the Koch brothers, or the Koch brothers are giving to one of the super PACs that backs them. It's like a joke. And Mike Huckabee's right. Things sometimes don't seem to change whether a Republican or a Democrat's in power. It's almost the illusion of change, in a sense.
Absolutely.
I totally agreed with that statement, and I really liked it. I just thought it was really interesting that he said that, because that's not something you expect to hear out of Mike Huckabee's mouth, or frankly any Republican's mouth at this point. So that was really interesting. And then the second quote that I really liked came from Jeb Bush. Yeah, you want to read this one? I know you liked it as well.
That was actually somewhat touching. Jeb Bush, he said, "We should be a welcoming nation. Our identity is not based on race or ethnicity. It's based on a set of shared values. That's American citizenship." I think with everything going on in the world, as far as Syria, we've obviously heard Trump talk about banning Muslims. We have immigration reform that needs to happen. We need to remember that, my nationality is Irish. My great grandparents came here after the potato famine. I was one point modern day Hispanic.
Yeah, because nobody liked the immigrants coming in.
You're Italian. At one point, the Italians were the modern day Hispanics.
Yeah, everyone's gone through that persecution.
There's the Germans,
of being
the Poles. Mm-hmm. Everybody in this country. This is our land. This is our country. And it is sad to see that how we have become so divided when we all came here for the same reasons of opportunity and the chance to live the American dream, to become something that we weren't before.
Yeah, I really loved how he said that, how American citizenship is based on a shared set of values. Like, I started thinking about that because I was listening to the debate in the car, and it really is. It's those values that you want to live the best life you can possibly live and be free. And anyone who comes here is following that
dream, that vision. They have the same goal in mind. We all have the same goal, the same agenda. We all want a better life for ourselves, but not just ourselves, our children, our children's children. We want to build the platform, the stage to set for the future.
I could not agree with you more. No, that one hit home when you said that.
Absolutely.
Who do you think won last night's debate? There's been talk, some people say Marco Rubio. Online polls said Rand Paul, but that's because young people will take the polls more. Who do you think won if you could choose a winner?
I could tell you a loser. That would be Ted Cruz.
Yeah, Ted Cruz did not show up last night. As far as a winner, I think people rose to the challenge. They rose to the moment. There were standout moments from everyone, but I didn't see anybody firmly take that debate in their hand and use it as a platform to take Iowa. That's true. That's a really good point. I was going to say, I thought Jeb Bush did the best out of everyone. I think
he was very much more comfortable and social than I've seen him in the previous debates. I will agree with that.
Yeah, in some points he reminded me of his brother when he was up on that debate stage.
He was a little more loose, kind of mellowed down, wasn't so uptight.
And it was great to see him like that. So I thought he did really well. I personally am going to be biased. I like Rand Paul. There's a lot of things I like about him. The only thing I don't like about him is how he doesn't really want to increase our military. That's the only thing I disagree with him on. But I like the guy. And I also think he did well last night too. It's going to be interesting to see what happens because I think this debate will have a big impact on the caucus in Iowa. And The debate took place on Thursday. The caucus is going to be on Monday.
No, for a second, Andrew, why don't you explain to me why is this Iowa caucus so important? Why Iowa? Why is Iowa? I mean, honestly, what are they? They got corn there? Hawkeyes? What else? Iowa's just, you wouldn't think Iowa would be so significant.
The reason why Iowa is so important is because it's the first primary state. This kind of sets the stage for if a candidate can win on a bigger stage, if they can show up and win a national election. It kind of separates, I'd say, the winners from the losers. And even more importantly, since 1980, all of the eventual Democratic and Republican nominees won either in Iowa or New Hampshire or both. And obviously after Iowa comes New Hampshire. So they've either taken one or two or both, with the exception of Bill Clinton in 92. So if you just look back at history, Rick Santorum won in 2012, but he didn't go on to win. 2008, Obama won. He went on to win. Huckabee won. He didn't go on to win. 2004, John Kerry won. He went on to win. I'm talking about winning the primaries.
Yeah.
And then, getting the national bid. And then in 2000, W won and Al Gore won. So it's got a fairly good indicator.
It is very significant, yeah.
It's basically, what's going to determine this person who wins on Monday.
It's kind of like in a baseball game. You score in the first inning. Football game, you score in that first quarter. You score on that first drive. You set the tone. You're establishing your momentum for the rest of it.
Exactly. Could not agree more. Very likely the person who wins in Iowa on Monday night could be your next president. If history repeats itself.
They're at least going to get the nod for their party's nomination.
Possibly. If they win in Iowa, they go into win in New Hampshire. They're probably going to take it all.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a little different campaign cycle with Trump being in it. Everything's kind of thrown to the wind. It's going to be a really good indicator. Now, what is a caucus? A lot of people don't actually understand what a caucus is. And caucuses, they basically differ by state to state.
It's a different, when we think of elections, we think we all put a vote in the booth, in the ballot. We all give a chance, popular support. That's not how a caucus works.
No.
13 states currently have caucuses as their primaries. Iowa, Nevada, Minnesota, Colorado, Hawaii, Maine, Idaho, Kansas, Wyoming, Alaska, Washington, Florida, and North Dakota. The caucuses, they're local meetings, essentially, where registered members of your political party, they gather around and they to vote for a preferred candidate. People from these caucuses, they meet essentially in their precincts. So imagine you have the state, and then you have counties, and in the counties you have cities. That's essentially a precinct. These precincts are designated spaces for people of each party to gather.
Yeah, they're like in common areas.
Like when you go to vote, you go to the local school or the community center.
Yeah, these people get up, they meet, and they talk about politics. In Iowa, there are 1,681 precincts that will hold caucuses. And about 1,100 of them will be Democrats, and 900 of them will be Republican, according to CBS. And the thing is, very few registered voters, some say as little as 10 to 15%, actually participate in a caucus. It'll probably be more this year because there's a lot of passion involved. I think they're predicting, record turnouts for the Republican, but very few people show up to caucuses because it's somewhat intensive.
Well, and there's also, for each party, they do caucuses differently.
Yes. Let's get into that. So explain how the Republican side works.
So the way the Republicans do it is before the vote, each campaign is able to have an official representative to deliver a short speech on behalf of the candidate. You have a pro-Trump, pro-Bush, pro-Cruz.
So on and so forth.
So on and so forth. These guys, they rally, they give their speech, and then after which the people that are in attending, they decide who they like, and on a secret ballot, they vote. They actually handwrite on a blank sheet of paper the name of the individual they're voting for, and they cast their vote. So once a winner is determined by the most votes.
Yeah, whoever wins this, in a sense, mini election, the delegates that represent that precinct go to the corresponding county conventions.
So they go to the precinct, the small stage, to the next stage, the bigger stage, one up.
So precinct 11 said they were everyone voted and Trump got the most votes. So the delegate from precinct 11 then goes to the county convention to cast their precinct's votes. And in Iowa, there are 99 counties, thus there are 99 county conventions. County conventions then select delegates for both Iowa's congressional district convention and the state convention, which eventually choose the delegates for the presidential nominating convention. So basically, it just keeps going up from there. How the electoral college
The
system
electoral
works.
college, you have the state, every state, California. You have, 55 electoral votes. If California votes Democrat, as always, nominee gets 55 votes. Same thing with the caucuses. It's the exact same setup, just on a smaller scale.
Mm-hmm. At least for the Republican side.
The Republican side, right.
Yeah,
right.
the Republican side's pretty straightforward. The Democratic side is far more complicated. They're really rowdy, long hours, big public affairs, back and forth debates amongst attendees who have to go and physically stand with other supporters of their preferred candidate.
It's like Black Friday.
Almost.
No, seriously, they wait and see who can stand the longest in support. It's not a secret ballot. Wherever you stand in front of is who you're voting for.
Yeah, so you show up to a classroom, you have Hillary supporters on the Democratic side, Bernie supporters, and Martin O'Malley supporters. And they basically try to all convince each other to come over to, if a classroom split into thirds, they're trying to get everyone over to the other person's side. And if a Democratic candidate doesn't get enough supporters in a precinct, and that is 15% of attendees, he or she is eliminated. It's like reality show style. In The Bachelor, you don't get the rose, you're out. If you can't control 15% of your precinct, you're out. And the reason why that matters is because the Democrats actually, they split the delegates. So
like the Republicans, they decide.
It's winner take all.
Winner take all.
With the Democrats, it's based on the final results of the precinct vote. Each candidate will receive a proportionate number of county convention delegates, and then thus that goes on to an equivalent of state delegates. The exact delegate selection continues at the county and state level conventions later in 2016, but this generally reflects the presidential preference vote. When you'll hear on Monday night that someone won Iowa on the Democratic side, whether it's Clinton, Bernie, or Martin O'Malley, which is not going to be him.
Yeah.
They're kind of saying who got the most delegates, but in reality, they both kind of won in some way or another because they both got delegates. Whereas, it's in the Republican side, it's more of like this winner take all.
Right. We have winners and losers in the Republican Party. And we are in the Democratic Party, we play more soccer.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a point. Everybody gets a touch.
God, that is pretty reflective of the Democratic Party, the way they do that. So who do you think's going to win the caucuses? I think this is interesting. Who do you think's going to win, Henry? For the Republican side.
Trump.
You think Trump's going to win?
Trump, Bernie for the Democrats.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that the Republican side, there's going to be an upset, and I don't think Trump or Cruz is going to win. I'm going to put my money, and I'm just going out bold prediction here. I'm going to say that Rand Paul wins in Iowa.
Really?
I have a feeling he might win.
Really?
Yeah, he has.
That?
Here's why. People have to turn out. Who's going to turn out on a late Monday night, or whatever time that their precincts voting at? School's in session for college kids right now. Rand Paul, he has his father's support of college kids. College kids love Ron Paul. Some of that support went to Rand Paul. Rand Paul is big with millennials. Students in Iowa are in session right now. They're going to be there.
Do you count on a college student on a Monday night going to vote?
Yeah, I think millennials are pumped to vote in this election. I'm going to count on it. I'm being serious. I think Rand Paul has a damn good shot of winning this one. And I'm going to also predict that Jeb Bush, again, the brothers confused, Jeb Bush finishes in the top 3.
I could see that happening. I see Trump, Bush, Paul. Those are the top 3.
Okay.
I still think Trump is going to win. I think him sitting out, honestly, it did him a whole lot of good. He could have only got himself in trouble. And people watch the debate because of Trump. People want to hear what Trump has to say. It's ridiculous how like he can say whatever he wants and people are just drawn to him for whatever reason. Whether you like him or dislike him, you give him your attention.
Fun fact about that, actually, it's estimated that about
there's an estimated like what is it, 11 to 13 million people turned into the Trump-less event Thursday. That is the second lowest rated debate of the presidential primary season. Trump's not in it. Nobody came and watched.
I mean, yeah, it's really interesting how he garners so much attention.
Right. And I really think it's just the entertainment value more so than anything, because people are like, what is he going to say? He's got these weird facial expressions. Anytime somebody says something, he just, like, the camera pans over to him, and he's got this, like, odd-looking facial
He's always making
expression,
funny faces.
You just are drawn. You're like, what is he going to look like next?
Well, it's why people follow him on Twitter, right?
Right.
So, all right, that's an interesting prediction. I'm guessing both of you and I both agree that Bernie Sanders is going to win Iowa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And New Hampshire.
I honestly have to agree.
I think Clinton, with everything that's going on, she is not doing anything to stand out, if that makes sense. She's trying to hold on and cling to her husband, but to her kind of experience, her elitist mentality that she's got it in the bag. And I don't see her doing anything to garnish support and votes.
Also, Bernie Sanders are passionate, and they will go and stand there, and they'll turn out in numbers.
Oh, look how passionate Bernie is. Anybody that likes him and votes for him feels the same way.
They're feeling the burn. And we've talked about this before. How many people have given money to his campaign? All the people who have donated
more than Obama did in unique contributions, and already.
And you know those people who gave him money,
are
especially
100%
Iowans.
going to vote.
Yeah, they're going to turn out and they're going to
You
stand
gave
in
him
that
even
caucus
$1,
all night.
you're going to vote.
That's why I think he's going to win. I think really.
I could see a vicious upset.
Yeah, I'll be really surprised if she wins in Iowa. So I mean, we're going to see, and he's supposedly ahead by at least 10 points. Some polls even say as high as 30 in New Hampshire. So we're going to see.
He's going to win New Hampshire.
If he wins both, that
Game
sucks
over
for Hillary. And the Democratic Party is going to be freaking out because they don't think that he can win in a general election. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. So with that, let's kind of shift into our schmuck of the week.
We're bringing back an older podcast. We talked about this before. We had some bets.
We're going to dial it back.
We had some bets on about the Oregon Standoff. I believe it was Andrew. What was the date that you guessed that? For those of you who don't know, the Oregon Standoff with the Bundy bunch, and they
basically they took over a bird refugee in Oregon.
Yeah,
to stage a protest of two guys going to jail. Anyways, you can listen to that. That's in one of our past episodes. I can't recall the number right now. So we had a bet on how long this was going to last. I think I said March.
I believe you said March.
And you said
February 1st.
I might have even said April. I was being really cocky about it because I thought it was going to...
Yeah.
And you said February 1st.
February 1st.
So 2 days ago, there was a standoff when a bunch of guys from the compound, the Bundy brothers, and a man who frequently speaks for the group, Lavoy Finicum, went out to, I think they went to go do a press conference or some type of media
So they went to go get supplies.
That it might have been getting supplies. I think they may have talked to the media. On their way back from this, either restocking or getting supplies, they encountered a FBI roadblock, and they tried to drive the videos up now. The FBI posted a video just because they wanted to show what happened. Right. So you're seeing them drive along, and they see the roadblock, and they try to speed up and go on the snow around it. Well, they immediately get stuck in the snow. And Lavoy Finicum comes out, and at first he has his hands up, but then he reaches into his pocket. A cop comes out kind of like from the side of the woods and shoots him, and then they kill him on the spot. It turns out he was reaching for a gun. He had a loaded gun.
He was going for the last stand. It was the Battle of the Alamo for him.
He was quoted saying that he wasn't going to jail, and that if he was going to get arrested, he would take his last breath in Oregon because he didn't want to go to jail. He wanted to
die in the blaze of glory.
But he just didn't want to live his life behind bars, I think, more than anything. 4 other people were arrested, one of them being Ammon Bundy, who pretty much led this whole thing. And now there are four militiamen stuck in the wildlife center.
So wait, this thing's not over. So you could still win. These 4 guys could hold out.
I know,
until
that's
March.
what I'm telling you. So it's
agree.
not over yet. Henry
not
has
over
not
yet.
won yet. Basically, these 4 guys want to give up, but they're trying to say, like, the only way we'll give up is if you let us walk away and return home without being
They were already
arrested
given this
or
offer.
confronted.
They were already off. The police were like, "Hey, we'll let y'all go home. No trouble whatsoever."
3 weeks
Already,
ago, they were
right?
like, "Yeah, go home. Like, let's just end this." But now they're
now they're like, "No way."
And Ammon Bundy's made statements to them saying, like, "Go home." You know, like, now he's like turning, because, you know, he's going to get charged with a felony. I think his brother might have gotten arrested too. I don't know for sure. I don't have it in front of me, but. So the 4 of you guys that are still left in there fighting for a cause that's been dead, that they didn't receive support from their local community, the support didn't seem...
The people in the town who are actually from there didn't even like them.
Yeah, so these...
You got you 4 and Bundy, you're the schmucks. Schmucks of the week.
Get out of there, guys. Good luck to you.
Well, again, thank you so much for joining Andrew and I. We really appreciate you taking your time out of the day. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, please show some patriotism and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. Leave a review. Even 1 review has a huge impact on our rankings. It helps more millennials like yourself find the show and give us higher rankings on iTunes. The biggest compliment you can give Andrew and I is a 5-star rating and recommending a show to a friend to attract another listener. Each week, we're giving away t-shirts to a person who left us a 5-star review this week. T-shirt going out to MJC 1990s. If you're listening to MJC, send an email to Andrew at Love Being American with your name and address, and we will ship you a t-shirt.
Be sure you visit our website, lovebeingamerican.com, during the week to read our blog posts, listen to our old podcasts or our latest podcast if you'd like, and send us any questions or concerns that you may have. You know, we love hearing from you.
Love feedback.
We've been getting a ton of questions lately. So starting in February, we're going to start making YouTube videos. And we're going to put them on our site as well, answering your questions. Because they're just piling up in our inbox. We don't have enough time during the podcast to address them. So we're going to make them in a video and finally give you guys some answers because you want to hear from us. And we want to tell you our opinions. So with that being said, I'm Andrew.
I'm Henry.
We love being American.